So like when you're in flow, you're up to 500% more productive than when you're not in flow.
Whoa,
500, 5x.
whoa.
That's like all these executive studies show this. But the issue is when you're in flow and then you get interrupted, it takes you on average 26 minutes to get back into flow. So basically, like if I'm, if I like let's say for instance I'm making a financial model, like that's a great, I would love to have 3 hours straight because when I'm doing that and I'm like going really well, I don't want to stop. Like I might just take a quick bathroom break, but I will probably just forget about eating, sort of not on purpose, but just because I'm like, okay, like this is all coming together great, and I'm just going. So it really depends on how what I'm doing is going. But if I'm really in flow, I really try to do everything possible not to interrupt it.
Man, Rob, I resonate with that so much. I mean, I do try to take breaks, but I also realized recently that my breaks are like basically me just changing positions and still thinking about what I'm thinking about, still thinking about the project at hand, but really wanting to get back to it as soon as possible, and
Yeah.
and realizing that that's yeah. I mean, I think people I wish that more people understood what it was really like to be in the flow state. I think that I hit it briefly at times, and I'm getting better and better as I kind of like learn more about myself and learn how I'm wired and learn what I really am excelling at and really good at, really gifted to do. But I think there's a ton of people out there who just don't even know what that feels like. They just maybe they're in a job that doesn't quite fit their gifting or, any number of things, but they've never experienced what that's like to truly want to work 3 hours at a crack without even stopping, you know?
1,000,000% agree. And here's again more data about why. Here's how that can totally be true. I think that 99.9% of the US population never gets in flow. Because again, if you get interrupted in flow, it takes you 26 minutes to get back into it. This company called Rescue Time did this study about how often people check their inboxes, both messaging inboxes and email. And what they found is that they check them once every 6 minutes when they're during the work
Gosh.
hours. Once every 6 minutes.
Oof.
So basically, like no one, then that no one is ever in flow because you're interrupting yourself every 6 minutes to
Right.
check your email. So unless you're like super deliberate about this, like it sounds like you are, and I try to be. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but like you're never getting in flow. You're never
Right,
getting in flow
right.
ever.
Yeah. Wow. That's 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 really good, and what a value add, like, truly, like, I this all comes back to the 4-day work week, like, what you're saying here really just enables companies to consider a 4-day work week without a decrease in productivity, correct? Is that kind of the bottom line of this? Like
Exactly. So
okay,
it's like if we all collectively agree, we're gonna essentially try to be about 20% more productive and get 5 days worth of work done in 4 days because of doing all the things that we just talked about for the last 10 minutes, and we do it. Why shouldn't we work 4 days? Like what? Okay, like I think that's great. And then here's another really important part. I actually learned this because I read this book about police officers, and this guy is a psychologist who was a police officer, and he studied how police officers' nervous systems react to being on the job. And what he found essentially is that when you're like, let's say you're a police officer and you're on assignment and you're like roaming the streets and you could be shot at any time or whatever. Like that's a very, your body's in this fight or flight state, right? And so when you're a police officer, a lot of times if you're in the field, you're in this heightened state of awareness for an extended period of time, for the whole time you're in the field because it keeps you alive. Well, what he found is that it takes 36 hours for you to fully down regulate and get to a normal nervous system state. Here's what's happening, or what I believe is happening to the average white collar worker. When they check their email, for instance, that all this data shows that induces stress, and all these other technologies induce stress. And so the policeman and the person that's a white collar worker are actually, in my opinion, both in a state of fight or flight. They just don't. The white collar worker just doesn't realize it. And so, why this is all relevant to the 4-day work week is if the average white collar worker is in fight or flight all the time, and they only work and they work 5 days a week, basically they're never recovering. Like by the time the second half of Sunday comes and they're in a regular autonomic state or regular nervous system state, they're going back to work on Monday. So if you have this extra day of time where your nervous system recovers, you actually become a better employee on Tuesday or whatever day you come back to work when you have the 3-day weekend. And this is again, this is all backed up by science.